I'm Jamie Thomas, a general manager here at IBM, and sadly my co-host Bala Rajaraman could not make our broadcast today, but I'm fortunate to have Kyle Brown. Welcome, Kyle. Kyle's also an IBM Fellow, and he's with our CIO office in IBM. So Kyle, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Kyle Brown, as Jamie just said. I am an IBM Fellow and Vice President, and I'm the CTO for the IBM CIO Office. Now, what that means is the CIO Office is internal IT for IBM. So it's funny, I have a role that's a lot like the CIOs and CTOs that I meet with at our customers, and that I'm the consumer of IBM's technologies, in addition to being one of the people that works with our teams to actually produce IBM technologies.
All right, well, I think your visit with us is very timely, Kyle. I mean, first of all, we've all survived a tsunami of sporting events. In case you have missed this, there was a World Cup thing called FIFA that went on for a while, and then there was the Wimbledon tennis, and there was the Tour de France cycling, and I think we wrapped that up with the British Open golf. But amidst all of that, for us techies out there was a lot of news on the AI front. And I guess depending on which headline you read, AI is either going to save the world or it will destroy the world. And so for those of us on this call and any of us in a leadership position, it's really important that we're equipped to advise our organization on the right strategy so that we can actually get benefits out of artificial intelligence. So I think your visit is very timely today because of your role with the CIO. And I wanted you to share with the audience a little bit about the breadth of the IBM CIO and what does your day look like every day?
Absolutely. So the IBM CIO Office, we essentially help IBM operate in all the countries that IBM operates in, which is more than 120. Yeah. We have about 1,500 some odd applications that we are responsible for, and that's a mix of all different types of applications. We have SaaS applications from our partners that we work with. We have lots of our own home-built applications, and of course we have lots and lots of IBM technology that makes up both the connectivity frameworks between all the different things that we have, and also that we've built our applications on top of. One of the other key things that we're responsible for is providing services that are then used by other divisions of IBM, like the infrastructure division or like consulting or software, to be able to help them get their jobs done.
Yeah, and first, Kyle, I know absolutely that the IBM client is a very easy client. I mean, I'm a client and I know I'm perfectly easy to deal with. But one of the things that I've noticed about this whole dialogue with artificial intelligence in the last month is just that the speed is increasing. So the speed is increasing. Therefore, when we look at things like security, the speed at finding vulnerabilities and therefore exploiting the vulnerabilities is a lot faster than it used to be. And so I think that's really putting a lot of pressure on organizations, and particularly CIO organizations.
Absolutely. And it really comes down to two different types of areas in which security has really become more to the forefront. The first is the one you were just pointing out about AI, which is that, new models like, let's say, Anthropic's Mythos, or some of the other ones that have come out that have that same level of capability, are finding vulnerabilities that we would have considered to have been very low impact, very low probability of ever becoming a problem, by doing really creative things like stringing multiple of them together to be able to create additional vulnerabilities. And what that's done is that's thrown all of our approaches that we've taken in the past toward prioritization and toward the way in which we address vulnerabilities. It's thrown that into chaos. Mm-hmm. And it's made everyone take a much harder look at how they're going to build their processes to be able to deal with this massive influx of new information that's coming in. At the same time, though, what's also happened is that artificial intelligence in itself is changing everything we do. We have new AI capabilities in all of our package software that we use. We're adding new capabilities, based on the Watson X technologies into all the applications that we've built. And guess what? We keep finding more and more vulnerabilities in those every day too. So it creates this perfect storm of, just way too much information in way too little time to be able to deal with all the problems that are being created.
So what I would believe, and you can say more about this then, is automation is really very critical here. I know from having owned software projects over many years is that if you couldn't get the software built in the right amount of time, if you didn't have the most effective and amazing CI/CD process in the world, you were probably not destined for success. And I think that's one of the things you've really been looking at in the CIO. I think you've been looking at your software pipeline quite in a critical light given all of this, right?
Absolutely. One of the key things that we realized very early on, and the thing that triggered this, was actually the Log4j vulnerability that emerged around about 2021, and we all remember that one. I remember that in the pre-show when we were programming, you and I were both talking about how it took our teams months to be able to find all of the places in which that vulnerability had actually created issues. And so one of the things that we wanted to do in the CIO office was to keep that from happening ever again. So we've worked very closely with you and your team in the CISO organization to build up essentially one single common pipeline for all of our CIO applications that allows us one way of being able to make sure that all of the appropriate scans are being done at all the right times, and that importantly, all of that information is then gathered together into a single common database that allows us to, for instance, the last time that Log4j became an issue, which from the time we're recording was just 2 weeks ago, it changed it from months worth of work to now just one SQL query that we could resolve in a single set of emails to our team to be able to head the things off. And that has been a major change in the level of automation we've had just by centralizing everything together and then setting these common standards across the way that all the teams have to operate with regard to the way CI/CD is going to be done.
So I know this thing has been extremely effective. We had one of these modules like about a year ago, and we were able to figure out where the module was, an open source module, in like less than 5 minutes across this estate, which is a drastic improvement from the months that you mentioned earlier. And also I think that the automation fabric that you put in also allows you to establish gates that inhibit things or prohibit things from moving forward unless the right criteria is met.
Absolutely. And in fact, those automated gates that we've now put in place have dramatically improved our overall position with regard to our vulnerabilities. In the 9 months after we originally established the vulnerability gate to where we would not allow our software to be deployed unless all of the critical and high vulnerabilities had been addressed, the number of them that we had going to production dropped by more than 50% just by putting those gates in place.
Well, automation is really critical here. I know you've got the ability to add in additional scanners as technology changes and everything. A really important aspect to the design you put in place. What do you recommend to other organizations? How do other teams get started on this journey?
Well, a big part of it is this idea of standardization. You have to basically say that, look, we have to come up with one single way of doing things across the entire organization. These are the common tools we're going to use. This is the common way in which we're going to index all of this information together and gather it in one place. And this is the common way in which we're going to allow that information to be then issued out to the teams that need to be able to respond to it and handle it appropriately. And this is one last place where artificial intelligence can really help us in that regard, because one of the things that AI is also great at, as we've found, is in addressing some of these vulnerabilities. So if we can just give the AI the right information to be able to handle things when it's appropriate, we can actually dramatically cut down the total amount of time it takes to deal with these and start to catch up on some of these horrifying backlogs we have.
Yeah, we have, I think every organization has a technical debt, unless you just started last week, right?
Yep.
And we have found a lot of benefit from using Watson Concert for prioritization, as well as starting to use our Bob tool for remediation. I think these are all going to be very important as we move forward on this journey of speed, speed, speed. What do you see next? What's in the future? What are you worried about next?
So the next thing on the horizon, beyond all of the vulnerabilities that we're finding that are coming in from places like, Mythos, are what are we going to do with quantum safe cryptography? What we're all seeing is that with every advance we make in quantum computing, the dates by which quantum computers become cryptographically relevant moves in, and they start getting closer and closer. And so we originally thought we were probably going to have 7 to 8 years before we really had to deal with these things. That's now shortened its way to under 5 years, and the latest numbers I'm seeing are shortening that even more. So one of the things that we're having to do a lot of in the CIO office right now is we've already started to add in scanners, again, part of the IBM Guardian product line, that allow us to do scans for all the different ways in which cryptography is used in our applications and build up a cryptography bill of materials. What that allows us to do is that then we can figure out, okay, at least this is the road ahead, and this is all the work we have to do, and this is how we'll be able to use tools like Bob and some of these additional AI tools that'll come along after that to help us to address some of these issues as QSC moves from being something we're just being aware of to being something that we actually have to fix as the next couple of years go on.
So post-quantum scanning just becomes another blade in your toolkit, if you will. It's part of your well-defined software pipeline that you put in place for the CIO. So I think we're out of time, but thank you, Kyle, for sharing what I think is really an important topic out there in the world of security right now. And is really how do we leverage AI to our benefit? How do we create an automated software pipeline, a really well-articulated and modern pipeline that allows us to move with speed? And I think this is so important. So thank you, and I hope to see you back in a broadcast in the future, and hopefully my co-host will be back next time. Thanks to all of you who are watching out there, and tune in to the next RTP Tech Series.